Plaintiff Natasha Edwards says she started dating the defendant after he got out of prison, and at first everything was great. However, soon after she got pregnant with the defendant's child, Natasha discovered that the defendant was cheating with a prostitute. Natasha suing the defendant for breach of contract. Defendant Thomas Kinney admits that he spent 10 years in prison, and he claims after he moved in with Natasha, he felt like he was living with his parole officer. Thomas admits that he cheated, but he denies he owes Natasha what she's suing for.
Prove your case.
I met the defendant in 2007. I was 18 at the time. He had just got out of prison for serving a bid of 10 years, which makes him 27. The first year of our relationship was fairly great. You know, things moved fairly quickly. He ended up moving in with me in February 2008. That's when things started to go bad.
Go south, if you will.
Yeah, and I ended up finding out that I was pregnant in July of 2008. And, you know, at first he was very supportive at the fact that I was having his child. In September of that same year, I ended up finding out that he was having sex with prostitutes in my courtyard of my building. So one day I was talking to one of the girls that he had sex with, and, you know, I never knew this was going on, so I was, you know, friendly to her. She asked me to charge her phone in my apartment. I did, you know, we was hanging out, and I ended up checking her phone when she asked me to give it back, and I seen missed calls from Thomas, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? She ended up telling me that they've been, you know, having sex and blah, 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 and I was like, okay, wow, I was floored. And then I confronted him. Of course, he had, you know, denied it, you know, and I just, whatever. At that point, I ended up moving from that area to Lincoln Square because I was like, this is too much for me. I can't handle it. And, you know, we went our separate ways. I ended up having my son prematurely in December 2008 due to the fact that I was going through a lot of stress. At that time, you know, we came together and we, you know, decided, hey, let's try to make this work for the sake of our son. So he ended up moving back in with me. And things were going great, you know, for the first 6 months, and then went back to the same old cheating line. He ended up having sex with his manager, you know, things in that nature. And what ended up happening...
Make up for that 10 years, doctor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One day he was like, hey, I want to go out with my coworkers. Hey, can I borrow the car? Fine, you know, it's no problem. He ended up going out with one of his coworkers from work all the way on the west side, saying he was going to pick up some heroin, and that was his excuse as to...
Heroin for whom?
For himself. That was his excuse as to why he was all the way on Pulaski.
Did you know he was on heroin?
No.
I've never been on heroin.
So
that was a shock to me because he came back to me, I said, why, how are you on?
And he said he was taking your car?
Yeah, he had called me. He was like, hey, I crashed, the mirror got crashed. And then I'm like, okay, where are you at? He's like, I'm already on Pulaski. I'm like, how are you over there? You're supposed to be on Irving Park. And he was like, well, I'm gonna tell you the truth. So he came home and was like, hey, I've been doing heroin for a long time. I ended up going out there to try to, you know, buy some drugs.
What year was this?
2008.
All right. Let me let him give a little background here. First, sir, she said that you were turning tricks in 07. With prostitutes who lived in the courtyard. And that you were addicted to heroin.
Yeah, Your Honor, I started at the beginning. A lot of that was kind of accurate up until certain points. I never done any drug. Not any drug, but I've never been addicted to anything except big butts, stuff like that.
So why would you tell me that you was going out to get heroin then if you never did that?
Man, let him speak.
Yeah, at the beginning, I did do 10 years. I got locked up when I was 17 years old. And I came out as a 27-year-old man, you know, and I went in as a kid. So when I first came out...
Come out with what? Any type of skill?
I mean, I got certifications for custodial services. I got my GED in prison. And when I came out...
10 years is a long time. That's all you were able to do? Should have had a degree. I got buddies who were in prison for a long time. They came out, came out with a PhD.
Well, the Illinois...
Went in with nothing and didn't have a GED, came out with a PhD.
Wow.
Yeah, the Illinois Department of Corrections cut back on a lot of things like that. They really don't have
so
too
did
many
a lot
programs.
of other Department of Corrections. They cut back on educating the prisoners and rehabilitating the prisoners, and instead just wanted to incarcerate them and send them back out on the street with no education education with no skilled trade, and they victimize us the same way they did before they went back in because they have nothing else they could do.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I did, Your Honor, was I like participating in a lot of workshops, a lot of programs. I understand because by reading that you have a peer initiative program that reaches out to ex-offenders, helps them with trainings, things like that. I did all those things, and I gained employment. I went back to school. Early in my transition, that's when I met Natasha. She was young, but I believe that because I was locked up so long, I could relate to her, you know, on certain levels, and it was pretty good for the first 6 months. I'd say everything changed when we moved in together, and that's when things started going downhill. Living with her, it was like I felt like I was living with my parole officer or something. You know, it's what you doing? When anything went wrong, like it was like accusations every single day. I had my very first job. I was 27 years old, and I worked at Jewel's grocery store. You know, it's not like the best thing, but it was something. And she like made it believe like it wasn't good, like I wasn't bringing enough money.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Things like that. So it was just like a constant. With her, it was a constant berate, like accusations, complaining about everything I do. So yeah, I did end up cheating on her with our neighbor. If she was a prostitute, I don't know about it. I never paid any woman.
That's not true, because you was the one that told me that she posted herself on Craigslist.
That's enough.
Plaintiff Natasha Edwards is suing her ex-boyfriend, who she claims cheated with a prostitute and had sex in their courtyard.
Tell me about the heroin allegation, because she says that you told her you were high on heroin and that's what caused the damage to the car.
Sir, Your Honor, I was on parole for 3 years. I just made it off. I never went back. I never violated my parole or anything. They do extensive drug tests. I've been drug tested for jobs. I've never done heroin. I've never even seen it.
When do you allege he did this heroin?
This was like October of 08.
Came back and your car was damaged?
Yeah.
And that's the excuse he gave?
Yeah.
So that's why you believe he owes you for the mirror. How much is that?
That's $375.
$375 for the damage to the mirror. Now, the rest of the money, what does he owe you for?
Damage to my door. Actually, it was one incident where he had came in drunk. He actually got my car towed, came back. I'm sorry, I was drunk. The police pulled me over. We got to go pick up the car. At that time, my son was asleep. You know, I didn't want to wake up my son. He ended up waking up because we ended up getting into an argument. At that time, I was holding my son, and he attempted to come over and choke me, which caused me to drop my son. That's not true. That is true.
Caused you to drop your son.
I caused me to drop my son. I immediately went into my room, locked myself into my room, and called somebody for some advice. He started slamming on the door, kicking the door in, and that's what caused the damage to my door.
You have an estimate of the damage? And how much? You want to tell me?
That was $40.
Sir, you want $40?
Yeah.
You're suing him for $1,200. How do we get to the rest of the money?
$600 for rent.
Okay. You agreed to pay rent, sir?
Your Honor, that rent agreement, I did agree to pay her, but I moved out. I got my own place in November. And
what months are you suing for?
The November, October of 09.
All right. And anything else he owes for?
$200 for stealing money out of my bank account.
Did you steal money out of her account?
I didn't steal the money, but I did take some money out of her account.
Did you take it with her permission?
As far as I was concerned, I did have her permission.
Oh, wow, please.
What gave you the impression?
She gave me the card and the PIN number.
That's a lie.
The day you went to the bank?
ATM, yeah.
That day?
Yeah.
She gave it to you for what purpose?
To give me money.
Oh, wow.
To go and get some money?
Yeah.
So why do you
and
mean
I took $200. I think she was like, she wanted me to take $20 or something. I took $200.
Okay, I got you. You took more than you were supposed to. All right. And does anyone have any evidence? And
yes.
Do you agree that you owe for the car?
I did. I hit somebody else's mirror and I damaged that man.
All right. Well, you owe for it. What about the damage to the property? A little struggle. Yeah. All right. Good. You owe for that. You're a pretty honest guy so far.
I don't owe for the rent though, Your Honor. Because
she's handed me something. I, Thomas Kennedy, will pay Natasha Edwards. The payment is for $200 that I stole from her, $600 for rent, $40 to replace a door in her apartment, and $40 for money borrowed. I also owe her for damaged car mirror to be determined later. I hereby acknowledge this written agreement or written document as an authorization of my own free will and can be used as a legal document.
This is the thing.
You should go to law school, yeah. Go ahead.
Your Honor, this is why I don't owe her for rent. Well, this is why I believe it. For one, the reason I was paying the rent money.
No. We have to go with the document.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell her. I paid it. Yeah.
You signed something saying
and
you
I
do
paid
owe.
and I paid her. I paid her since then.
Oh, okay. You
haven't
paid
done-
all of this.
No, he did not.
When did you pay?
And at the end of January.
End of January.
I gave you $600 cash.
That is when he asked to borrow money around the Super Bowl
He
because you
hasn't
was
given
broke.
you a dime, ma'am,
No, he has not given me anything.
for anything.
Anything.
All right.
That's a lie.
And that is since the first debt was when?
Wow.
The first debt was October, like I said, October of 08.
Okay, October of 08.
That was the door in the car.
And since October of 08, he hasn't paid you a dime. And yet
Nothing.
he lived with you up until when?
In November of 09.
Okay, he lived with you over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Never paid you a dime. What were you saying to him all those months?
No, I'm sorry. He did pay up until the last 2 months.
All right, he says he did pay you. I asked you very clearly, has he paid you anything? And you very assertively said no. So, I'm unable to rely on your story. He says he paid $600 toward this.
I did.
All right. I'm going to subtract $600 from the amount you're requesting, and that's because he was honest enough to admit to it. He could have told me he paid it all instead of saying he only paid $600. So, judgment for the plaintiff, $615.
He's a good father, but he's not supportive. He's immature. He doesn't really do nothing for him now. So, a deadbeat, if you ask me, at this current time.
Wow. Everybody that knows me knows my son, and they know I'm not like that.
He says things, but he doesn't follow through. And ultimately, his son will be affected because he's inconsistent in his child's life. And I feel sorry for you, and I hope you grow up. You have nothing going for yourself.
Guys, don't go for the big butt. It's a big problem. That's it.